January 16th, 1996 at 7:30 p.m. We'd like to welcome all of you here this evening, invited guests, those of you on channel 15. Our agenda tonight is going to be an outside presentation, Vision 96, that'll be first. We're going to try to go from there and get through the agenda and deal with the issues on the agenda, and at the end I'd like to let the viewers know that we're probably going to hear a presentation, we are going to hear a presentation from the police chief and then go into executive session. The executive session could last up to 45 minutes or an hour, so some of you will probably not be able to tune back in, as it'll be probably late this evening when we're through, and I'm not sure we'll even have anything to report out. Just to let you know what's happening. I'd ask everybody to stand and rise and pledge allegiance to the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to, at this time, turn the meeting over to Alderman Wilton to introduce our invited guest here this evening.
Thank you, President Seige. Welcome to everyone who agreed to participate in our Visions 1996 program. In the interest of time, I will make my comments extremely brief and go right to introducing the first speaker, who is Mark Blucher from the Rutland Regional Planning Commission. Mark, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Wendy. Members of the Board of Aldermen, Mr. Mayor, and members of the public that are watching. I'm here to talk about the activities of the Rutland Regional Planning Commission very briefly during 1995 and to quickly review some of the initiatives that we'll be involved in during 1996. The focus in 1995 has been on expanding coordination and collaboration with organizations throughout the region and throughout the state. First of all, I'd like to point out our involvement with the Regional Transportation Council, which not only agreed on which projects to support, but on which projects along on the state's capital program to drop. This organization, which represents 27 communities in Rutland County, has been working for the past 4 years to ensure that the transportation needs of the county are met, and I think that it would be difficult to imagine this kind of cooperation having happened 6 or 8 years ago. We're continuing to work closely with the Chamber and the Rutland Economic Development Corporation. They will discuss their particular efforts, but I want to highlight something that is really quite simple, but I think has far-reaching implications. Excuse me, and that's the consolidation of our individual phone systems through the Regional Planning Commission Centrac system that allows us to communicate much more easily with one another, to switch calls back and forth. It's going to save them up to $20,000 over 7 years, and it's going to improve communication between the three organizations. And finally, for 1995, we've continued our involvement with the Rutland Region Education Alliance, the partnership of schools, businesses, and government, and other nonprofits to ensure that the region's education system prepares our children, all of them, to deal with whatever the future brings. I have to thank at this point past Alderman Art Crowley, who was instrumental in recognizing the importance of the Regional Planning Commission being involved in this effort, and because of his effort in bringing us into it, the Commission was able to access some funds. We were able to hire someone to work with the Alliance over the past year, and assisted in its selection as one of 2 pilot workforce investment boards in the state, and to win one of the $210,000 School to Work grants that were awarded this past year. For this year, for 1996, we're going to continue and expand our involvement in the activities mentioned. We're actively involved with some initiatives on transportation planning, dealing with corridor improvements from Wallingford to East Dorset. We're assisting in efforts to look at bypasses around Pittsford and Brandon and the Regional Transportation Council will, of course, continue to work with the communities in the county to look at the needs of transportation throughout the county. We play a key role in facilitating greater coordination among the community and economic development initiatives that are underway at the state level to ensure a better targeting of resources. As part of that, I'd like to draw your attention to the 1995 plan from the Vermont Economic Progress Council. They are going to be holding a public hearing in Rutland on February 8th from 8 to 10 at the Holiday Inn. I would encourage everyone to excuse me, pick up a copy. I have some here, and there are a few more in the box. If there aren't enough copies there, they can be obtained from the Regional Planning Commission or the Economic Development Corporation. We're going to expand our Geographic Information System program. We're actively involved with all of the region's communities now in building the database for the expanded 911 program, preparing maps, a variety of data, and we even have had some discussions with members of the City Public Works Department as to how we might share some of our staff resources to assist them in expanding their use of their geographic information system. And we're going to provide our members, the 27 communities in Rutland County, with continuing support for local planning efforts that recognize the interrelationships between planning, education, transportation, economic development, and the environment. And as a planning organization whose responsibility is countywide, our specific direct involvement in the city's community development efforts may be seen as somewhat limited. Yet, all of the region's communities need to work together to ensure that each can exist as they wish, and the Commission plays a part, we feel, in generating and facilitating those cooperative efforts so that that can happen. The Commission will continue to provide the leadership and technical expertise to encourage cooperative planning within and among the region's communities, and we look forward to working with you on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Are there any questions for the Regional Planning Commission at this time? If not, we'll move on to the next guest, Tom Donahue, Executive Director of the Rutland Region Chamber of Commerce.
Back again. Basically, the Chamber's mission is threefold. One is to try to improve the quality of life for Rutland Region residents. Number two is to advocate for business interests, particularly at the legislative level in Montpelier and also on the national level in Congress. And number three really is to promote the region in any way we can, basically trying to, bottom line, ring the registers here locally. And we do that in a number of different ways. First of all, we were very pleased with our accomplishments in the legislature last year. In 1995, we supported such bills as the water withdrawal regulations, which was nicknamed the snowmaking bill, which was passed, and we were quite pleased with. The transportation bill, which you all are very familiar with. We spent a lot of time with that, trying to get Rutland projects in that bill, and we've been somewhat successful in more recent years in doing that. The Education-Related Workforce Investment Board bill, which that lobbying effort was spearheaded by former Alderman Art Crawley. And another one called the Vermont Jobs Fund bill, which was passed, becomes another funding mechanism for local economic development agencies to be able to utilize. It becomes another arrow in the quiver of the local developers to try to attract business to the area. Subsequently, I was appointed to that board of directors by the governor, which is probably going to teach me to stay in my office, but it really is a good thing to have a Rutland person on that board so that we have some local representation when it comes to funding requests. So that's another piece of legislation that was successfully passed that we supported last year and we're very pleased about. In 1996, our legislative presence will include, and beginning with our legislative breakfast series, which I passed a handout out to your desks, which lists the different breakfasts that we plan to have with our legislators during the session. And the first one is January 29th, in which we'll have the governor present. And then our legislative bus trip on the 31st, that following Wednesday, which you're also very welcome on. We'd love to have you on board the bus that day, and I've passed around a flyer in regards to that. And that is the opportunity for us to sort of converge on Montpelier that day and have Rutland Day in Montpelier. We'll bring about 50 people up there to make our presence known. And we'll be supporting particular bills this year. One is House Bill H411, which is a bill that hopes to improve Act 250. We want to focus on workmen's compensation this year. Of course, again, as always, the transportation bill. And several funding requests. One that's very important right now to this region and is gaining some support is the Amtrak proposal for the western side of the state and passenger rail service. And also possibly funding requests to help Colgan Air and capital construction funding request for Castleton State College so they can do an expansion there. So those are some of the things in 1996 that we like to and are supporting and would like to see passed. Onto the promotional side of things, the Chamber does spend a lot of time, as I mentioned, trying to ring the registers locally. How do we do that? Well, one is through travel and tourism and also just promoting business locally the best we can. Some of the ways we're doing that is we have successfully got a $15,000, what we're calling a Tri-County marketing grant, and this is going to market the western side of the state of Vermont along the Route 7 corridor. Somewhat untried. We are actually working together with the Addison County Chamber of Commerce and the Lake Champlain Region Chamber of Commerce. So Rutland, Addison, and Chittenden counties are working together to market this side of the state instead of trying to individually market ourselves. And I think that's going to be quite successful. I think you'll find people who want to come to the state of Vermont, but will really look at it as a small enough state where you can stay in one area and travel to another on a day trip. So we're hoping that's what they call hub and spoke. We're hoping that they'll stay in Rutland and travel to Burlington, stay in Burlington, travel to Rutland, and so forth. Also, if we are successful in having some passenger rail service, that would actually work out quite nicely, because that will also travel along the corridor eventually. And another grant that I was successful in getting is a grant to target Lake George this summer. We want to do that hub and spoke and try to attract the people who are staying in Lake George to come and spend a day in Rutland County. And it's something I'm calling Rutland, Vermont, the other great escape. So we're going to try to get them to come on over, come across the border. It's not that far a drive. I think we might be able to pull it off. So we're going to target some funding over there this year and see what we can do. As you know, we operate the Visitor Center throughout the whole summer. We operated that 7 days a week this year from Memorial Day through Columbus Day, and actually kept it open an extra week with the help of Alderman Stafford, among other volunteers. Thank you, Bob. Thank you. And this year we had a good sign. The visitors were up 10%. We had a total of almost 7,000 people visit the Visitor Center this summer. Believe it or not, a little place had 7,000 people through the door. And interesting results too were that there was 18 different countries represented this year from the people who signed in. So there's a lot of international travel. 7% of the visitors that showed up there this summer were international travelers. And also we spent some time renovating that visitor center this year with new paint and wallpaper and new carpeting inside and out, repaved the top of the driveway and so forth. So it looks really good. We felt that the first impression of the region is going to be very, very important, and oftentimes that visitor center becomes the first impression of the region. So we wanted to put our best foot forward. We got rid of all the clutter, made it very functional, and a pretty good looking place. And that was, we're very pleased with the results of that. Also, we did some handicap accessibility improvements and put on levers on the doors, tried to make the ramp a little better and getting in, and a new threshold and things like that. So it's fairly accessible. Probably not 100% yet, but we're working on it. And also, some of the things that we did last year, aside from the travel and tourism, is to promote the region by putting on some large events. Some of them I'm sure you're aware of. We did, let's see, the Rutland Rodeo, for one. That was, no, actually, let me back up. We did the Rutland Airfair first, and that attracted 5,000 people over a 2-day period. So it was a good draw for the region. Then we did a rodeo on the 4th of July, which attracted almost 5,000 people in one day. And then, of course, we were happy to be able to provide the fireworks this year, and we did a gigantic fireworks display, which another probably 1,000 or two outside the gates enjoyed. And we plan on doing those again next year. I wanted to mention aside from the visitor center, what we do out of our office, and that is to promote the region in a number of ways. We get nearly, last year alone, 11,000 phone calls. Over 50% of those are from out of state. So we are answering thousands and thousands and thousands of requests for information. We respond to those in a number of ways, one of which is the visitor's guide, which we send out, and this is done in collaboration with the KPAA. Last year we had 130,000 of these produced and we're distributing. We sponsor and produce the Rutland map, which is given away free, which is two of the most popular items, believe it or not, the visitor's guide and the map. Everybody's looking for one or the other. And then we do the area profile guide, which is mailed out. We do 2,000 of these. And we had thousands of requests for this type of information, and we send out area brochures. We package and customize the packages to send out to people. So if they're looking for a particular subject, we'll try to customize the package and mail it out accordingly. But we're doing thousands of those through the mail, over the telephone, over the fax machine, and soon to be done over the World Wide Web. And I want to mention that before I part, but I just wanted to mention next year, 1996, we will continue to do the maps and the visitor's guide. We are again doing the rodeo and the fireworks. Winter in August, which is a wonderful event, attracted about 600 people last year. As you know, it's our celebration of the contribution of the local ski areas to the local community and the recognition of that contribution. And this year I'm happy to announce that we're going to be doing a full-blown air show. We're taking it 10 steps farther than last year, which we had what we call more of an air fair, and we're going for the real thing this year. We're going to do a full-fledged air show, which should really be something to see. It's going to hopefully be the first like of its kind in this part of the state. My understanding is Burlington is not doing theirs this year, so we'll not be the only one of its kind. I'm expecting a minimum of 5,000 people, and I won't be a bit surprised if we have 10,000. And those are the kind of draws that we need to have on an annual basis for people to come into the region and stay here and eat here and buy their sundries here and those kind of things. And then last but not least, I just wanted to mention the fact that we are doing a World Wide Web page on the internet. We're working in collaboration with Rutland Economic Development Corporation right now. We're looking at a startup homepage of probably about 45 to 50 pages. So when you bring it up Rutland, Vermont on the internet, you will get a page from the Chamber of Commerce in Reddick that will tell you about the area, all of its services. We'll have a cultural and activities calendar and all sorts of other useful information about the region. We'll also offer it to businesses so that they can have their own pages off of our page, so they can also promote themselves on the web. Pretty excited about that. It's new technology which is becoming very popular, and I think it'll be very important to get people not only to travel and visit here, but to locate business as well. And I'd just like to be remiss if I didn't introduce my president. He's here tonight, Wynn Thomas of Clinton Thomas Agency, is the president of the board at the Chamber of Commerce, and I appreciate Wynn coming here to stand behind me in case I got in any trouble.
Doing a great job.
But I really appreciate your time. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks
Your
a lot.
organization is a wonderful contributor to the region.
I appreciate it.
Appreciate all you do. The next guest we have is David O'Brien, who is the Executive Director of the Rutland Economic Development Corp., whose offices are housed right next door to the Chamber in the same building, and they work collaboratively quite a bit, as I'm sure David will tell us.
Yeah, actually,
Okay,
it's,
David?
thanks. I really appreciate the Board of Aldermen doing this event again this year. I think it's important for everyone to hear what all our groups are up to and what tangible products are coming out of our efforts, both from using a combination of public and private funds, but also using a lot of volunteer support. So I think it's critical. And it's also very exciting to hear Mark and then Tom go before me and hear how many of the things that they're involved in that overlap what I'm doing and what my organization is doing, either directly or indirectly. I think we've tried to divide and conquer a lot of these topics. Tom has been very strong on the Transportation Council and those types of efforts, and very active with cold and air and those types of issues. And I think that it's really helped us tackle a lot of different issues without getting overextended. And I think those types of partnerships, like working with Matt, the Redevelopment Authority, and joining forces with them, I think that's really the way we're going to have to continue to work in the days that we're in. I brought some products of our labors with me tonight that I'm going to pass around and show to you that I think you'll enjoy. I included my outlook in 1995 Rutland Business Journal by noting the following. Our vision is that when the snow is flying in December of 1995, we will reflect back on a year that was full of accomplishment across our county, and meaningful long-term relationships will have been formed. And I thought that was pretty good, especially since I can say that I was right on both counts. One, the 1995 was a busy and productive year, and second, we did have a lot of snow in December. But I think that, in general, I'll stay out of the weather predicting business in the future. Some of the significant accomplishments I'd like to talk about a little bit as far as 1995 is concerned before we start talking about 1996. Some of the things that we're very active in on a regular basis that I think are important to point out. For the past year, or during 1995, we saw continued activity in our small business loan funds at Reddick, with 12 loans totaling $420,000 being closed that resulted in the retention and creation of 70 jobs. And as a matter of fact, when I stopped by here and parked and was walking over, I went right past the food co-op, which was one of our recent projects. And it's really very exciting to see that kind of community-based project come to reality. And fortunately, we were able to get in there and finance something that is very difficult to do ordinarily. And that's not only created some jobs, but I think brought a very nice asset to downtown. Reddick was the catalyst for the formation of the Business Recruitment Task Force, a group that represents a collaboration of 15 towns and more than 30 volunteers. As a result of the efforts of that task force, we've been able to develop brand new professional brochures that have been developed to market Rutland County. The brochure is a tangible product of the Business Recruitment Task Force that conducted the research and wrote the copy, all by volunteers, and we actually sent it out and had it, if you could pass these down. I don't know if I have enough to go around, but the tagline is Rutland County, Vermont, the business option that changes everything. And basically this is our entree to send out to businesses that express an interest in the county, that we can give them a thumbnail sketch of what our capabilities are, what's available in the area, and it's a first blush at what we have to offer, and then we can follow up from there. We've taken the road to trade shows, and I think we've seen a very good response to that piece. Looking inward, away from retention, or excuse me, rather recruitment for the moment, and to the retention and growth of our existing companies, one of the things that I'm very pleased to have been a part of is the partnership that we have with the Chamber this past year to conduct a survey of the region's manufacturers, some 85 companies. The surveys were conducted by volunteers from Reddick, the Chamber, the Planning Commission, and the Task Force. We had 21 teams of 2 individuals each that went out and interviewed the company representatives at their place of business. We asked them a lot of things. We asked them about their workforce. We asked them about competition that they're facing, both from local companies and from outward. What are the factors that are driving growth of their industries in the future? What tangible things can we do to help them grow? Are they export-import intensive? Are they labor intensive? Are they able to get materials in and out? And as we're tabulating these results, and we don't have them yet available, but I think we'll have them out in the next issue of the Business Journal, or at least the February-March edition. I think we'll find there's some things that we are not surprised by and some things that we are surprised by. One of the things that I can kind of say from my very unscientific review of some of these surveys is that, surprisingly, most of our manufacturers don't view transportation in and out of the road as a detriment to operating here. And that, generally speaking, they view moving product out of Rutland County as a one-day truck ride to anywhere on the East Coast, generally speaking, or the Mid-Atlantic states, which is comparable to anywhere in New England. And basically, I think that's something we've long held as a concern about our competitiveness, and I seem to be finding that that's not as much of a case as we think. In September of this past year, or in 1995, we participated in the Affairs of the World trade show in Montreal, together with the Addison County Development Corporation, Central Vermont Public Service, and Green Mountain Power. And we received a very strong response from that trade show, both obviously because of the timing issue of being there right before the crucial yes-no vote in Quebec province about succession, but also because I think the general business climate right now in Quebec and in Canada, or that section of Canada, is a little unstable. And the fact that the vote came out so close, I think there's a lot of business owners in Quebec that are very curious about opportunities in Vermont. And we thought it was important to make sure that we make them aware that there are some counties south of Burlington that would be interested in Canadian business, and that being only a 3-hour drive from that locale, I think that we've got an opportunity. We had a very good response, and presently we're following up with those leads, and we plan to be spending a lot of time up in Quebec in the next 6 months or more, depending on how long it takes us. Of course, there are quite a few other prospects that we've been working on the past few months that I can't discuss really, but let me say that we've taken every opportunity to harness the resources of our partners to help make an impression on the companies that we've been working with. In fact, we've already called on the ambassador group as a task force to meet with a company from out of state that we've been working with, and they're so thoroughly impressed that they've decided that based on the treatment they've received that Rutland County is going to be their focus for expanding their business. There are common themes that run through our accomplishments in 1995 that bode well for the new year. We have seen the positive effect of collaboration both from a community standpoint and from the perspective of public-private partnership. The Business Recruitment Task Force is the vehicle for the region to bring together a broad group of talented individuals to work towards a common goal, job creation and economic vitality for Rutland County. So what about 1996? What's going to happen in the next 12 months? Or less now that we're into January. Well, first, more of the same I think is important. We've started on the right track and I think we should continue with it. We've formed some very good partnerships both with town governments and business leaders across the county, and I think we should continue on that track because I think this is the direction we should be headed in. I'm confident that these regional partnerships we have formed will lead to tangible developments in the new year. I've spent a lot of time crisscrossing the county over the last 3 months, and as my mileage indicator on my car will indicate, it's taken me to a lot of different locations, and I think I've gotten a very good response from the leaders of the different towns and local development organizations that I think are very heartened by the approach that we're trying to take and the nature of having them included in what we're trying to do and developing. One of the things I'm very happy to talk about is that I think our Reddick's present joint venture with the Brandon Industrial Corporation to develop the industrial park up there for their future is a prime example of how these partnerships can work, and I think that's what we should be focusing on in 96 is building even more of those tangible bridges. We'll be increasingly aggressive in this year in 1996 in our recruiting effort as our targeting analysis is completed. And really what we're most interested in doing is making sure that we be very focused and targeted on the types of companies and the geographic regions either within this country or without to focus in on the types of companies that we think we have a competitive advantage. Unfortunately for us, another partnership is going to make this work possible, as Dr. Farmer, a new board member of Reddick, I might add, has pledged to bring the resources to bear of Castleton State College, their professors, and their students to conduct a lot of this research for us. And quite frankly, with limited resources and a volunteer effort, this is just what we need to keep this going. I am pleased to say that Reddick is in the process of further enhancing our one-stop service to the region. And as you know, we are with the Chamber of Small Business Development Center. But I'm fairly confident at this present time that I will see the addition of the Manufacturing Extension Center and the World Trade Office, both newly formed initiatives in the state, come to Rutland and operate out of our office. Right now, literally, I'm just trying to figure out where I can fit them because we're running out of room where we are, and we'll have to make some accommodations for them. But based on the recent discussions I've had, both of those new initiatives want to have a location in Rutland. Both of them are very important from a job retention and growth of our existing base because it allows us to bring a level of service to our manufacturers, both in terms of manufacturing extension, focusing on manufacturing process control, inventory efficiencies, what have you, as well as and then on the other hand, the World Trade Office that can focus on opening up new markets for companies that are native to Vermont and to Rutland County. So I'm very excited about that, and I think that as soon as we have something tangible on that, we'll be making that public. From a macroeconomic standpoint, we must keep in perspective that we have positive economic indicators that tell us the economy is sound. We are presently experiencing a confluence of low inflation, interest rates, and unemployment that has not been seen since the Johnson administration. So why don't we feel any better? Basically, there are two reasons. One is, I think we typically compare how we're doing now to the 1980s, which is really not fair because the 1980s, by most accounts, was an anomaly that we can't really rely on. It was an unsustained growth fueled by speculative real estate investment and excessive defense spending. But the second reason I think we have to be mindful of now is that the reason we are not happy is because we have not seen the growth in people's incomes that we'd like to see. And I think that's why aggressive economic development efforts, partnerships, recruiting is critical if we're going to raise the level of income for our people in Rutland County. So here's what I expect for 1996, and I thought I'd take a stab at kind of what the economy is going to look like in the next year. And quite frankly, I think it's really a stable picture more than anything. Based on what I heard at the Economic Outlook Conference on Friday, we can expect 2% growth in employment. Interest rates will not see significant alteration given the present slack demand for capital. And considering our modest growth expectations, I don't see any upward pressure on inflation. Away from the numbers, I see some challenges and some things we should be concerned about. We have still not seen a recovery of the manufacturing jobs that were lost earlier in the decade. And recent sales of local bank assets will lead to additional job losses. We can only meet these challenges by working together as a region. It is our opportunity to market Rutland County as a great place to live, where a strong sense of community persists, and the work ethic that dates back to the colonial days is prevalent. Further, we must continue to strongly support our existing and emerging businesses and ensure that our own native potential is cultivated. Our current survey of regional manufacturers is providing us with important insight into how we can play a productive role in that area. But I have to say, overall, I have a very positive outlook for this region in the next year. I brought along just a couple of my props that I thought I'd share with the group. I'm very pleased with some photos that we had taken this past year. Some of them I'm very pleased with because they kind of give a nice, strong, colorful depiction of some of our favorite places downtown Rutland. We took those in Montreal in our trade show, and I think it really gave people a strong sense of what the area is like. Some of you may have been down to our industrial park in Clarendon and be familiar with Vermont Country Store's warehouse in our park. But those are just some of the examples, the bag of tricks. Tom talked about the World Wide Web page, and I think that that's an important way to have an international presence. Who knows, maybe we'll tag on with some state efforts to do some international trade shows in the next year. But I think the foundation has certainly been laid for future developments, and I think I'm very, very heartened by the partnerships that we've been forming in the past year. So I probably went over my time a lot, so I apologize.
Thank you, David. Our agency has been very busy this year, and it's been a big year for you since you're fairly new to Reddick. I'd like to invite David Wack with the Rutland Regional Education Alliance to come forward and tell us what his organization has been up to this year.
Actually, Dan Heintzelman, who is the plant manager at General Electric, is the chair of the Alliance, and I'm the vice chair, and he had a commitment tonight, so excuse me. The Alliance, those of you inside the rail, were regaled with all kinds of information about the collaborative, the Alliance, from Professor Arthur Crowley when he was one of your colleagues inside the rail, and those of us outside the rail, and the public have benefited from Arthur being the sort of provocateur and cheerleader for the collaborative and then the Alliance. And many of you may not know, but you should know that he, more than any other Vermonter, was the main force behind the lobbying effort for the state to adopt some new legislation last year, which developed some workforce investment boards around the state. And actually there are 3 pilot WIBs, sorry about the jargon, but that's what the legislation entails, which is a very powerful alliance of K-12 education, post-secondary education, business, industry, human service organizations, and virtually everyone in the community. And what's interesting about the workforce investment boards in this area is that we were about 2 or 3 years ahead of the rest of the state. And when those in Montpelier decided to award the workforce investment board status to regions in the state. Rutland was way ahead. In fact, we're the only WIB south of Burlington. There's one in Franklin County and one in the Northeast Kingdom. And what's significant about this is that together in a region we can do much more than we can do alone. Now, the members of the board have in front of you a document that starts out with partnership members. And you'll see about 25 men and women from the local area representing the 6 supervisory unions in Rutland County, Department of Employment and Training. The 3 speakers before me, and it's sort of interesting that the Planning Commission, Reddick, and the Chamber of Commerce have all been very active participants in this very unique blend of agencies, public and private, all interested in improving workforce education and training, K through adult, kindergarten through adult. It also includes members of the higher education community. There have been several projects that have been underway here. And one thing that you'll find interesting, since you're all, like all of us outside the rail, concerned about rising property taxes, all of the activities advanced by the WIB, by the Alliance, have been funded by grants. Not one property tax dollar has been used to fund any of the activities that I'm going to talk about in the next 2 minutes. The WIB has sponsored the application for the School to Work grant, which has been referenced by a couple of earlier speakers, which is an effort across the county within the 6 supervisory unions to improve the relationship between schools and business and industry, to prepare our children better for the workforce. And as Rutland City Alderman, I would encourage you to, at your leisure, anytime, go up to the high school, your public high school, and take a look at the new Career Center, which is in the room overlooking the Information Center, which is highlighted in one of the photographs you have here. Nothing like that was available to us when we were in school. But what we have is a program that really helps kids from grades 9 through 12 develop ideas about the real world outside of high school, sponsoring internships, apprenticeships, bringing people from the work world into the school, and a vast array of resources available to the students within the school and across the world of telecommunications through the internet. It's just an incredible way to sort of open up our horizons for young kids within the school and outside the school. The Rutland Region Collaborative, which I know you all have heard about over the last few years, is a part of the WIB, and the curriculum committee within the collaborative has brought to the region a number of professional development activities for teachers, including hands-on applications in math and science at the elementary level, social skills curriculum at the elementary level, a group that's looking at the value of a high school diploma to try and lend more credence and value to a high school diploma, to make sure that when students graduate from high school that we are certain about what they can do and what they know and how they can apply that knowledge in the world. The collaborative has also been the recipient of a telecommunications grant to better coordinate that world of telecommunications across both the higher ed institutions and the schools. And another unique aspect of this initiative has been something in Rutland very much unlike the rest of the state, and that is that those folks who provide post-secondary education, that might be for adults who are coming back to school to earn their diploma, it might be adults with a diploma who are attending adult education classes, it might be through the Community College of Vermont, through St. Michael's College, the University of Vermont, Castleton State College, the College of St. Joseph, any Green Mountain College, adult basic education. I just ticked off a number of groups in this region who are providing workforce education and training opportunities. Yet, in every other place in the state, there's a whole lot of duplication, and in fact, there are a lot of unmet needs. In this area, those providers of post-secondary education are in fact meeting on a regular basis now, and because of the efforts of the WIB, are better coordinating their services, avoiding that duplication, and trying to meet those unmet needs, sort of filling the gaps. And that's been a wonderful outgrowth of this effort to have more regional cooperation instead of competition among those who are providing that education. I think that I will stop here and just say that we've had We have regular meetings of our committees and subcommittees. Our endeavor is expanding. You are all invited to be part of it because together we've got to make sure that there's a very close connection between our schools, business and industry, and higher education institutions. So I'd be very glad to answer any questions. Thank you.
David, can I hear somebody reference quite a bit of grant money? Was it 200?
About $250,000 has been brought to the region through various grants to fund all the activities that I just mentioned in the last 5 minutes, and not one property tax dollar to fund it. And you can thank your friend behind you for getting it started.
Thank you, David. The Education Alliance has really taken off just in less than a year, or about a year, and they're really doing some incredible things. I've been to a couple of their meetings. Our next guest is Matthew Sternberg, the Director of the Redevelopment Authority, Rutland Redevelopment Authority.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be able to come meet with you folks this evening and talk about what happened in '95 and what we're looking ahead to in '96. My focus is going to be much more narrow on accomplishments in the city and activities going on within the city. 1995 was a particularly active year, a very interesting year. It was the year that all of us had been looking ahead to with a lot of curiosity since 1989 when the city first undertook its planning, because 1995 was the year that the Diamond Run Mall opened, the major competitor just south of town that brought into the area those competitive retail aspects that we figured were either going to make or break the revitalization of downtown. Pleased to report that it made it. Downtown has had a number of major successes over the course of the last year, with the continued growth of the Price Chopper, the opening of TJ Maxx, the 9-screen cinema complex, continued growth in the marketing efforts downtown, which you will hear a little more about when Dick Horsell speaks after me. All in all, the year that the new competition came along and opened, many of the businesses downtown reported they either stayed the same or moved ahead. And a lot of the major anchors over in the plaza are reporting sales ahead of projection. The parent companies are extremely pleased with the way the Rutland market has performed. I think that downtown has in fact turned a major corner and is moving in an extremely positive direction. In 1995, the Redevelopment Authority, working in conjunction with the Board of Aldermen and the Community Development Committee, started trying to move some of the redevelopment efforts beyond the boundaries of the downtown. Since 1989, we have been focusing primarily on the downtown area, but in the last year, we have been able to put together a program working with Rutland West Neighborhood Housing Services to revitalize multifamily rental units in those buffer zones surrounding the downtown area. We were able to secure a $460,000 Vermont Community Development Program grant to help in that effort. The objective there is to bring a lot of the multifamily units in the neighborhoods right around downtown, those neighborhoods that would be most at risk for the business community to start sprawling out of downtown into the neighborhoods, and get those buildings brought up to fire code so that they will be stabilized as residential units, keep them on the market as such, and help keep those neighborhoods stable. Another project that we were able to secure the funding for and will actually be launching into a lot of activity with the next year is dealing with the vacant upper floors in the downtown business district. They have long been a problem for not just Rutland, but for many downtowns that have succeeded in getting retail activity going on the street level, but the upper floors of the historic buildings have been difficult to fill. We have received a $25,000 planning grant from the state program to work on studying the feasibility of converting these upper floors to artist housing and studio space. This is a new sort of leading edge use for upper buildings that have been explored in a number of other cities around the country quite successfully, and indications are that it's a very good prospect for Rutland. The main benefit that we get is active use of the upper floors using a renovation that is easier and cheaper than either traditional residential renovations or office renovations. And we're hoping that this will be able to rebuild those upper floors on a cost basis that will make the buildings profitable and productive. We, on the basis of a lot of those events in 1995, look ahead to 1996, which I think is also going to continue to be a very interesting year for Rutland and very productive. 1996, I believe, will be the year that we see the renovation of the shopping plaza completed. Negotiations are underway. We don't have all the details pulled together yet. Net Property Management, the owners of the plaza, are working very diligently on it. But indications are that this is the year that we will get the tenanting over there completed through their efforts, get the facade renovation completed, and have the plaza in its final shape for probably the next 10 to 20 years. That done, we need to set our sights on the next round of projects to help complete the fabric of the economic structure that we've gotten started downtown. One of the key elements of that needs to be the renovation of the Paramount Theater. We look to downtown as a center for entertainment and arts. It's where we can put a competitive product in the downtown that is not readily available in surrounding communities or in fact anywhere else in central Vermont. So as well as being of cultural interest, it's of key economic development interest to get that kind of activity downtown. We have the 9-screen cinema complex, so if you want to see a first-run movie, you have to come downtown to see it. We need to get the Paramount Theater online, so that if you want to see a major live performance, downtown Rutland will be the place where that happens. Some of our challenges in the next year are going to be difficult ones. A major issue is going to be parking. We've discussed it before. We will discuss it many times in the future. But our success brings with it the need to handle the heavier traffic. A major contribution towards that solution comes with a multimodal transit center, and Larry Dreyer will be speaking to the bus's efforts on that project a little bit later in the presentation. But it's something that I intend to be working very closely with this board on over the coming months. It is a difficult problem. It's a very demanding problem, but I'm confident the solutions are out there and that we're going to be able to keep that part of downtown's growth moving ahead. As I mentioned before, we will be undertaking the study for the artist housing on the upper floors of the downtown buildings. A construction project that we're going to see this spring that I think will be a lot of fun is the rebuilding of Depot Park. The HUD grant that is in place for the redevelopment of Spruce Street also provides funding for fixing up the town's central park. The Rutland Partnership, working in conjunction with the Rutland Rotary Club, have put together the funding to commission a new design for the park. That's currently underway. About the middle of next month, we'll have some preliminary designs that we'll be able to show to the public to get comment. Our intention is to get that process completed within the next month, be able to get it into engineering and under construction in the spring. Also, in the course of the next year, we will see some major infrastructure improvement as the storm sewer separation work, which is also a part of the Spruce Street project, will go into construction. So we're going to see cranes and bulldozers downtown, both in the plaza and around the plaza and behind the plaza, and hopefully we'll see a few jackhammers and power saws in Paramount Theater as well. That's my quick summary. A number of other projects relating to downtown will be touched on by other speakers this evening, so I won't dwell on them now. But again, I want to come back to the one point that I make a point of making every time I speak on this, and that's to reiterate for you and for the public why I believe we've been able to make a success of this over the last few years. I think a lot of that goes back to this process. In 1989, when the city undertook a thorough planning study for the economic and community future of downtown Rutland. Not only was it a very thorough plan, people can make thorough plans, many of them sit on the shelf collecting dust. What's different here in Rutland is we made this plan and the city worked the plan. This board worked it, the redevelopment authority worked it, everybody involved stuck to a vision that made sense and pursued it until the right things started to happen. And I look forward to another year of continuing that process with you. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. We look forward to working with you over the next year as well. The next guest is Dick Corsell, who is the manager of the Rutland Partnership.
Thank you, Wendy. Mr. President, Board of Aldermen, this is my third time before this board, and I remember the first time is when we brought up what Sharon likes to refer to as the son of sweeper issue. I promise I won't remember this evening. So,
Our favorite too, Art.
when you're talking about Vision 1996, actually, on Thursday night, my board of directors, the commissioners of Rutland Redevelopment Authority, and our committees, more than 28 people, will be going into a planning retreat to develop our 1996-97 vision. And each year we do this, and each year it provides us with the direction and the vigor to proceed with the programs, as Matthew has said, which I think have certainly put downtown Rutland on the map and demonstrate really the success of this cooperative effort. I want to take just a moment to reflect on 1995. In 1995, we saw the most tremendous change, obviously, in the retail landscape in Rutland. More than 500,000 square feet of retail space open in the last year. And as Matthew said, this entire program, the Rutland Partnership's existence, is because of the 1989 planning efforts of On the Right Track, and certainly the quote-unquote threat, or what we thought was a threat, of the Diamond Run Mall. What we needed to do in the last year, and what I reported to you in Vision 1995, was we had just completed the DANT report, which is to Rutland Partnership what the On the Right Track report was to the city in terms of its revitalization planning. This report has, again, not sat on the shelf. This has been the primary means and primary direction and focus of all of our efforts over the last 12 months, and will be the primary means of information when we proceed for the next 12 months as well. The DANT report, as those of you who are becoming familiar with what we're doing, advocated what we call a niche strategy for downtown that basically helps existing shops survive, makes them more competitive. It's basically finding downtown's place. Our consultant likened the mall and its environs to a 900-pound gorilla sleeping on the bed. And what downtown's success would come from is finding that place on the bed that the gorilla doesn't sleep. Well, I think we have found that place, and I think there's no question that success is here. Highlights of 1995, one of the things that we did, we used the DANT research to produce a professional marketing recruitment packet, which we distributed and targeted, I think most of you, all of you have seen this, to prospective businesses. All of our landlords with vacancies have this particular packet. It's crammed full of the most comprehensive retail, trade, demographic information on downtown Rutland and Rutland that exists, and it is becoming a central resource for inquiries, even outside of the downtown area. We don't exist in a vacuum, although I'm relatively provincial in terms of where I'm looking for the successes. But we make this information available to businesses that are looking in the Rutland region. We really feel that it's important information. The DANT research, this report also suggested strengthening the downtown, as what Matthew has described, with spaces and workshops for the artists and artisans, and we'll be working with the Redevelopment Authority and the Chaffee Center for the Visual Arts on the feasibility study for the Artist Live Work project, as Matthew had outlined earlier. And in the last year, you take a look at the number of businesses that have opened in downtown Rutland. I remember when Woolworths went out a couple of years ago, you would have thought the threat that left this community. Well, haven't we really turned around? You go down a street today, and where once there were cold, dark vacancies is a sense of vibrancy. There are people walking around. There's actually people downtown after 6 o'clock at night. I know when I took this job 5 years ago, the only ones of us down here after 6 were those of us who were working late. That's not the case anymore. We've got a vibrant downtown that's continuing to build itself. We have also just recently subscribed to a national database of retailers searching for spaces in Vermont and in downtowns, and we're making this information available as well to our perspective, to our tenants and landlords, so that they can do some of their own recruitment. But really, the focus of our efforts in the last year and likely to occur in the next 12 months is on the marketing of downtown, and this is where we've really put most of our effort. The niche marketing strategies, we've been able to roll out 2 of those. One that I want to just spend a few minutes on is the Wedding Center in downtown Rutland. And this came out of the Dance report, and as a result of it, we have one of our committees that has about 20 people on it of businesses related to the wedding business in downtown. We produced a 32-page brochure and planner, very colorful. We've launched new marketing programs, cooperative advertising programs for these businesses, and we hosted the region's premier bridal show, which was held last November at the Holiday Inn and will be held again this year on November 17th. We have a new colorful downtown brochure that many of you have seen that was published this year, and it's distributed and dropped out every month to more than 70 locations throughout the Rutland region. These are premier publications that we really feel are increasing the awareness of the opportunities downtown. We have launched new television and newspaper advertising, launched at the lucrative regional skier market, providing them with more opportunities and things to do when they get off the slopes. We created an upbeat downtown jingle, which we launched back in November to rave reviews. We used the same company that produces commercials for Disney, American Airlines, Coors Light, Levi's. This was a top-notch production company, and they really produced an incredible jingle for us that has been used in a number of different applications. We've also published, with the assistance of the Parking Advisory Committee and Chief Holmes, the Where to Park in Downtown Rutland, and this thing will be worth its weight in gold this year. I can guarantee it. This has been distributed all throughout the downtown and will be updated this year and will assist people in basically where to park in downtown. And I just have to mention Christmas 1995. With a mall opening, with the amount of retail in the area, downtown had an extremely successful Christmas, a very strong Christmas, and I don't think it has ever looked better. This year, the businesses really participated heavily in the White Lights program that we instituted. Building owners that had never done anything before were coming on board. The Christmas decoration program, the White Lights program, will be doubled this next year. So we're going to see even more of that downtown. So we're really excited about that. Those are just some of the marketing initiatives. And also what we're working on right now, we're working with Marble Valley Regional Transit District on investigating a shuttle between Killington and downtown to bring skiers to Rutland for shopping, dining, and entertainment. And I want to stress the word investigating. This requires a lot of feasibility work to determine whether or not the market exists and the service would basically meet our objectives. And as Matthew said, we just hired a landscape planner who has begun the design work on the new Depot Park, and thanks to a grant with the Rutland City Rotary Club, we've been able to make that happen. And we have a series of meetings in the next 2 weeks to get people's input on the redesign of that park, and we're very excited about that. For 1996, I just want to reiterate the fact that really when we're developing our vision, it's going to come out on Thursday night. So if this was next week, I'd have a better idea. We begin our year on July 1. So when I'm talking 1996, 97, I'm talking the coming year. And really, the 28 people that are participating in this planning session, which is going to be facilitated by a professional planner, will really come up with our work plan. We have more than 30 people working on these programs and volunteer committees. As you know, there's only 2 staff people with the partnership, but really the work comes with the committees. And I also want to basically thank many of the people in the city, because I think this year we've seen cooperation among city government better than we've ever had before. We really want to thank Ben Connor and the DPW. Ben has been a breath of fresh air as Commissioner of the Department of Public Works, has been very responsive to the needs of downtown, to the needs of the businesses, and so have his staff. Lee Dolan in the Department of Parks and Recreation, Chief Lloyd, all the guys at the fire station, we can always count on them. I don't know how many times we put in calls for the lights are out in Depot Park or something's wrong with the deer. They've always been there for us, and of course Chief Holmes and the police department as well. So for next year, I mean, what is our objective? We want to make downtown the region's center for specialty retailing, exceptional dining, entertainment, and the arts. Not too grand a objective, is it? But I think we're really well on our way. But as Matthew had said, I'm not going to leave here without having you heed Alderman Gillen's warning and Mr. Sternberg's warning about parking. We will be back, I can guarantee it. And I just want to thank everybody for their support and cooperation over the last year. I've never been more excited about what's happening downtown, and certainly after 5 years, it feels like we really are starting to see the fruits of our labors. But we certainly are not out of the woods. We've got a ways to go, and I'll be a lot more comfortable once this year's over with. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Dick. Christmas certainly did look good downtown. I think everyone would agree. The next guest is Stephanie Bird, who represents the Marble Valley Regional Transit District, or better known as the bus. Or Larry?
I'm going to help Stephanie too.
Okay, terrific. Larry Dreyer.
Needless to say, it's been a very, very exciting year for the bus. I'd like to introduce Stephanie Bird to you all. Stephanie is going to handle our public relations new initiative and work with a lot of the senior residents of the area, and hopefully work to build up the image of the bus to a perspective that it is more noticeable and perceived in the concepts that it should be. We're also going to start what we call a livable communities project, and this is a concept for future growth and to keep pace with the community needs. This project will include a responsive timeline and services to the community, and will vigorously develop and promote transportation facilities and infrastructures. One example of that, of course, is the Multimodal Transit Center. Another initiative is the new free fare zone, the resort transit program, the new Elders on the Go program, and this coupled with the DNR and fixed route programs that we already have should really serve the community in a sensitive way and so that we can respond to the needs of the community. Last year saw our medical services transportation produce over 30,000 rides. I'd like to point out we have the fixed route ridership for the last few months, and we're pleased to tell you that that's gone up over 200%, and that is just the fixed route. And of course, that's we form partnerships with the malls. We form partnerships with Castleton College, and of course the resort areas. We are working with a partnership to try to expand some of the resort transportation. Overall ridership has expanded too. This, of course, would take into account the resort ridership and whatnot. But just this year, since this is produced, we've noticed a 20 to 25% increase in the resort ridership. We expect to do over 500,000 rides this year. Lastly, again, we won't take as much time as I know you have a busy schedule. On the Multimodal Transit Center, we sort of had passed a major milestone. On January 10th, the right-of-way plans and property abstracts were approved by the state. This constitutes like a major thing, a part of the project that took about 6 or 7 months to accomplish. And I believe tonight the Board of Aldermen will be given some more property-related issues to take under consideration. Well, we expect final design will begin this March. Property purchases will start later on, probably this early spring. Bid documents and related items will be completed by this fall, and the initial land clearing and startup of the facility construction is scheduled to begin then as well. We're also working on a plan, and it's in a very primitive stage right now, to perhaps lower the local match requirement. And we'll know more about that perhaps in a few weeks when we talk to some people in Washington. Again, we're kind of excited on what's been happening in the area. It's exciting to be in Rutland, and we hope to be a part of that. We hope that the Multimodal Transit Center will serve as a transportation hub for the complete area, serving the future rail, and also making connections to the mountain and to other areas by different modes. Simply put, it might be a very exciting area. Hopefully it will hook onto the Paramount as far as people coming down late at night to go to shows and whatnot, and use that as a parking area as well. We're actively on the Transportation Council, the Parking Committee, and doing all sorts of charter services that serve the community. Steph, do you want to add anything about the Stucco bus and things like that?
Starting in November, when I came on board, so I haven't been here very long, we tried to really make an outreach to the community, and one of the things that we did was a Stucco bus promotion where we had ended up filling 2 of our largest buses with food for the Salvation Army to distribute to the Rutland community, and we raised 5 tons of food and over $2,000 in cash donations. And I was just at the Salvation Army today and found out that about 180 Thanksgiving baskets have been given out and 75 Christmas baskets, and there's still lots of food in the food shelf from that promotion. So we were happy to do that, and the bus has also been working with other community organizations like the visiting nurses. We drove the visiting nurses around to shut-ins to sing Christmas carols and do things like that. So we've been trying to really get out in the community and help other people, you know, not just with our fixed route system, but with community outreach efforts.
Can we answer any questions that you may have? Thank you very much.
What was your fiscal year? When did it start?
Which one?
It says fiscal year 95, 94. What is your fiscal year?
Our federal fiscal year starts October 1. State fiscal year starts July 1. So we have 2 fiscal years, and actually our ride share, which is another program we have starts September 30th, I believe.
So what fiscal year do you use for these numbers?
That was last year's. That was the state fiscal year, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions? Thank you very much for giving us this opportunity.
Now we move to the private sector. Our next guest is Mr. John Clifford with Killington. Welcome, John.
You want me over here or anywhere? It's a pleasure to be here with you tonight, and it's a pleasure to stand here in front of you. My snowboarding lessons aren't progressing as quickly as I would like them to, and that metal chair's been a little bit difficult. It's a delight to be here. I'm pleased to have a chance to talk to you a little bit about our business and what's been going on the mountain. And also I'd like to talk a little bit about our business that runs here in downtown Rutland. I'm not sure that everybody realizes it, but we are a major employer here in the Opera House and in downtown. We're involved in an awful lot of things in the city. Just to recap a little bit of what last year was like, it was the worst snow year we've had in the last 20 years. It was the warmest year, 3rd warmest year in the century, and so needless to say it was a difficult year. That came upon having made the largest single capital investment in our company's history. We built a lift called the Skyship. We invested over $16 million in that lift. To give you some perspective of what that amounts to, the addition to your high school, your technical center, is about half the cost of what we put into that lift. So it is a huge investment, a huge commitment. It will take us actually 3 years to complete all of the work on it. The lift itself is built, it is operating. It is by far the state-of-the-art lift for the world, for the ski industry. There are people who are traveling from Japan, Korea, South America, Australia to see this lift and experience it, and people are trying to duplicate it. and it has been quite an attraction for us. This year, we're really starting to see the benefit from the skyship with the snow much better. The traffic to that facility has increased about 300% over previous year's traffic numbers, so it is finally starting to be the success that we had hoped for. 1995 brought a lot of challenges with it, most of it involving the weather, but it was also the year that we finally got focused on getting some reasonable regulations in the state of Vermont for water withdrawal and snowmaking, and I think last year proved how important snowmaking is to our business. In a year like last year, we managed to maintain 85% of our normal traffic levels thanks entirely to snowmaking. Without it, we would have been simply out of business most of the season. So this year, a great deal of work was put in by the Vermont Skiers Association, a number of legislators from our area, and we feel we finally have a set of regulations that we can look to and plan for the future so that we can protect the water in the area and produce the snow that we need for our business. So we think that's a breakthrough, and we hope the Rules Committee and the legislature supports it this week. The winter of '96 has proven to be one of the snowiest on record. There are only 2 years in the history of our company where we've actually had more snowfall between the start of the season and this year, or this date this year. We expect that to continue. Skiers are always optimists, and we expect more and more and more snow no matter what happens. But we are still making snow as well. In this day and age, with the number of skiers and snowboarders we have on the mountain, we literally need artificial snow to make the snow, to carry the traffic and keep the business coming in. We made a number of improvements to the mountain this summer. We took 75 acres of terrain on the mountain and we developed what we're calling fusion zones. We actually just did some minor brushing work and limbing work inside those areas to allow people to ski in the woods inside the boundaries of the ski area. As I'm sure many of you read in the newspapers, we've had quite a few experiences with people skiing out of bounds. We have an awful lot of people who like to ski into the Rutland City watershed, as much as we try to keep them out of it. But we have opened up the fusion zones, and we came up with that name because it's a fusion of old world skiing and modern technology. There's a lot of new equipment in the ski world that allows people to enjoy this type of terrain, and they've proven to be very popular. We've also made a number of improvements at the skyship with additional facilities. We've opened up what we call the High Country Touring Center. You can now ride to the top of Sky Peak. There is a whole network of cross-country trails that you can actually ski on that are adjacent to the ski trails. So for those people who are not alpine skiers, they can tour on the top of the mountain. There's also an eco tour that's given with snowshoes, so if anybody wants to come up and enjoy that, we certainly invite you to do so. There's a 2-hour and 4-hour guided nature tour where we show people the mountains and the environment that we work in, and it's a beautiful, beautiful situation there for that type of activity. If you haven't been up to the mountain lately, I would invite all of you to come up and see it. I think sometimes living here we forget what an asset it is, what a world-class resort we have there, and these additions, I think, are just going to continue to enhance our image throughout the world. Speaking a little bit about world-class, one of the things that we do, which Rutland City is involved in, is the Killington Stage Race. We have renewed our contracts with the racing community. We plan on bringing the race back again next year. Hopefully you'll invite us back to Rutland and downtown. We'd like to be here. The Criterium is a very popular part of the event. To give you some sense of what that race is all about, in the world of sport, the #1 spectator sport is soccer. The #2 spectator sport is cycling. Most people in America don't realize that, but if you travel to Europe and you mention that you're from Killington or you're from the Rutland area, you're much more likely to have somebody say, oh, that's where the stage race is, than to have them say, oh, that's where the ski resort is. The race is known throughout the cycling world as one of the top 5 races in America, and we hope that reputation will continue to grow. We are also improving our operations at the Opera House. We have up to 60 people employed there over the course of the season. We handle as many as 250,000 phone calls through that operation. It is a state-of-the-art computerized reservation center. To give you a sense of the caliber of the operation we have there, we've just recently entered into a marketing cooperative with the Scottish Tourist Board to utilize that reservation service for Scotland for people traveling from the United States to Scotland during the summertime. Obviously, we use it for people traveling to this area in the summertime as well. but our capacities there are immense and they're underutilized in the summer, so hopefully we'll be providing more year-round employment in that facility as the time goes on. We've also initiated a number of marketing efforts. Our company acquired Waterville Valley Ski Resort in New Hampshire and controlling interest in Sugarloaf Ski Resort in Maine. That has allowed us to put together a number of synergistic marketing efforts with those other resorts, which gives us something of a dominant market influence and gives us access to databases, et cetera, that we did not have before. Ultimately, I think that is in Killington's best interest and in the Rutland region's best interest. We are using a lot of these marketing efforts to step people from one resort to another. It's also allowed us to form allegiances with ski resorts throughout the Northeast, what we call metro partner areas, places like Greek Peak, Swain, so on and so forth, smaller areas in metro markets, and they are now acting as marketing partners for us. It's something we could not have done as a singular resort. You can only do that with a company structure like the one we currently have. So I think that's going to be a great benefit to Killington over the years. So there's a lot of exciting things going on in our mountain right now, but we are still challenged with our ability to physically grow. There's a lot of improvements we would like to make with the mountain, but it's a slow and difficult process, and hopefully we can continue to get the kind of support we've had from people in the Rutland community, which have allowed us to move forward. The last thing that I want to mention, which I think is very exciting if we can keep it on track, and excuse the pun, and keep it moving forward, is the Western Corridor train from New York City to this area. A very, very important opportunity for Rutland and one that should not be underestimated. To give you some perspective of the scope of this, there are more skiers who live in New York City than there are people who live in the state of Vermont. The population of the state of Vermont is just under 600,000. There's over 675,000 skiers in the metropolitan area of New York City. If we can put this train in and make it work, it will be a great boon to the economy of this town, the city, because it will destination here. People will get off the trains, it'll fill hotels in the community, it'll fill restaurants, it'll fill stores, it'll tie in with what you're doing with all of your other development here in the city. I think it would be one of the best things that could happen to making Rutland more of a ski town than it is right now. In summary, we look at our relationship to Rutland as being very, very important. It's a big asset to us in attracting people to the area. We work very closely with Dick Corsell and the Rutland Herald in developing a publication called the Killington Edge. We produced 95,000 copies of that publication. It's a newspaper formatted piece, and it is distributed in all of our base lodges and all the hotels in the area. And the purpose of that is to bring people to Rutland and to bring them down here to shop, to dine, to experience all of the assets that you have here in the city. So it's been very effective, and we've got a lot of people who are very pleased to come here. I had the pleasure on one of my trips to Scotland in October to have dinner with a family who comes to Killington every year for 14 days, and they stay in the Holiday Inn, and they choose that facility because they have everything they want. They have all of the amenities of a wonderful hotel, they have the downtown shopping and facilities, and they have transportation to and from the mountain. It's a perfect match, and it does create a world-class experience, and as you can see, we are attracting people from around the world to here. So that's been very good. The last little note that I'd like to make, not that it's a little thing, but the advent of the bus on the mountain has been a big plus for us. It's helped a lot in providing better service, but the connections between Rutland and Killington would be a big asset if we could find a way to make that happen and improve it. We are getting some bus service back and forth early and late, which is helping us provide jobs for people who don't have transportation to and from the mountain. It's a very important thing for us. I think it's a very important thing for people here in the city who want to work at the resort and for whom transportation is a big issue. So Larry and his people have been an amazing support group for us and a lot of help, and we look forward to working with them in the future. So I think that's about it, and if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Just one question. I just came back from the International Tourism Conference. It seems like Vermont's a little behind on signage and communicating with the international market that comes in this area. What can we as a city help you start to solve that problem?
Well, there's a number of things that we could undertake through the partnership, the chamber, through a number of groups, to try and put out, first off, Spanish literature, Spanish signage, secondly, Japanese signage. We are seeing more and more people come in from Japan. I'm not so sure that you can really afford to change the whole sign system in a community like this for that market. It's not quite big enough yet. But I think having literature out there, having some of the restaurant menus translated, having some of the directories that are produced in this area produced in multiple languages would be a big asset. And if it did nothing more than just tell people we care about them, we welcome them, we're glad they're here, it would be a plus. Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you, John. Next, we'll hear from Bill Herbert from PICO.
Good evening. I'd like to thank the Board of Aldermen for inviting PICO to this forum. I'd also like to thank Wendy Wilton for putting me behind Killington. It's like David and Goliath here. From a seasoned veteran to a pure rookie, just about. However, I do have 7 or 8 pages of notes I would like to go through. I'm only kidding. 95 was a very interesting year for PICO. PICO has gone through a period of transition and changes. Transition from a company that was set up through board of directors and stockholders to a privately owned corporation owned by one family. It saw changes through making renovations and refurbishing of sports complexes and the base lodge, to adding children's programs, to adding a tow handle. It saw in 95 some trail widenings, the completion of a lift lowering because of wind problems that we're having in the top. We completed that in the very beginning stages of 95. We're looking at building and developing new snowboard parks. We just recently opened this past weekend on a limited basis our second snowboard park. We believe it's going to be a great hit. We plan to have it completely done by the first weekend of February, and we're pretty excited about that, and we're hoping that we'll get some very good recognition from the development of that park. There are a number of other areas I'd like to go into. Referring to our children's program with PICO, in addition to adding a children's learning center, we also added a director of our children's programs so that we could focus purely to the needs of children and the relationship to the children and the parents of the family on how to better teach them to ski and how to interrelate the experience of skiing with the children. We try to make it much more fun, more of a learning process of being out on the slope versus actually teaching the kids as like a classroom. We also have added a recreational race arena, which we're quite happy with. And on the more fun side of it, when you get it done with skiing, we've added some tube sledding, uprace skis, so that when you're all done, the kids come out, we bring out the tubes, and we just go have a blast on the slopes. So when you're out, next time you're up at PICO, make sure you stay a little later than what you normally do, because the tubes will come out. For 95 in summer programs, it was the beginning stages of developing a program to make PICO more of a year-round resort rather than just a ski resort. And as I said, it was the beginning stages of implementing and getting approvals for turning the ski resort into more of a mountain amusement park. And some of the things that we were able to get through this year, which we are now looking to develop for 96, which leads me right into the main focus, I think, of what tonight is all about, is our vision for 96. Unfortunately for me, they all kind of blend together. Since I recently came on board, there's been so many issues to deal with from both winter season and summer programs that we are still aggressively approaching and looking very actively at our summer programs. And we will be able to implement a number of them for this year. Some of the things that we will be adding this year and also going in for some additional approvals, which will be coming out in the near future. We will be adding some batting cages, a mountain bike slide, a carousel, a trampoline. We're looking to add an alpine bob, a toboggan run, water slides, 2 bumper cars, a kids play area, inline skating park, and creating a picnic atmosphere so that corporations and individuals and organizations within Rutland can come up to PICO, have picnics, have various summer events that take place, and incorporate that picnic with our park. And we'll be happy to cater it for you and just make it a real fun experience. I mean, it's kind of the situation of bring the whole family up and take care of your business and let the kids go, or have a fireman's day up there and just bring the family up, and we're more than willing to work with you on that. And that's kind of the concept that we're looking to develop. We're also looking to take a little different approach with PICO, and since we have the housing right on the slope side, in the summer, many people come up in the winter and they forget how beautiful Vermont is in the summer with all the lakes and the natural resources that we have around here. But we'd like to be able to incorporate that with some of the programs that we're doing for the summer. For instance, we would love to be able to create what we call a family vacation camp, where families can come up to PICO, stay for a week. We'll have activities for the parents, we'll have activities for the children, and we'll also have activities that the family does together. Many times when families go on vacations, the kids say, I don't want to go, I'm going to be bored. Well, we don't want that to occur. We want them to come up and experience Vermont, learn about Vermont, and also be out in nature with Vermont and participate. And that's some of the things we're looking to do. For the winter side of 96, we have some very big visions also. As the city of Rutland know, and many of the organizations here know, you can have great visions. It only takes money. And hopefully we'll have some very good years ahead of us, and we'll be able to keep growing with the area and some of the programs that we have laid out. Things that we'll be looking at this year for the winter will be the potential for a mid-mountain lodge, which is very much needed for PICO. We'll be looking at enhancing our snowmaking operations. We will be looking at the potential development for PICO East, which focuses on the other side of the pass, toward the Killington side. And PICO has the ability, unlike Killington, which has developed over year after year after year, PICO has not done that, and it still has quite a bit of area for expansion that we're looking forward to, that we think will really position PICO as a regional resort, an eastern regional resort that will become well known in every household. Along with some of the visions that we have for 95, we've been very fortunate to be recognized by those that ski PICO over the past years, and many of you have, I'm well aware of, with the 58 years of history that we have, that PICO is received in the area very well. Those people that do ski PICO are usually very satisfied with their experience. Recently, in the October issue of Ski Magazine, PICO was awarded 6 medals in various categories by the readers who are skiers of that magazine. And we were quite honored with that, and we fully plan to follow course with that each year and just keep growing with that. Family Fun magazine also ranked PICO one of the top family resorts in the country, comparing us to resorts like Beaver Creek, Deer Park, and some of the western resorts. And we're certainly honored by that also. And we're looking to expand with that. Snow Country magazine quoted, their quotes were for PICO, one of the elite resorts in the nation. And we want to be able to expose PICO to more people, to invite them into the community, and have the sense of friendliness and the family relationship that we're trying to develop with the mountain. Just let me check a couple of my notes here. In establishing community relationship with Rutland and surrounding areas, there's many avenues and venues which we can look at. But I think the best avenue and direction that PICO can take is to continue to grow. Because if PICO continues to grow and not stumble as it has in some of the past years, then what that will mean to the region is we will be able to provide more jobs. We will be able to grow and use local businesses more by buying supplies and buying your services and incorporating you more into what we're doing. And through that growth, PICO will elevate itself, and with that it will take Rutland with it. And what I mean by that is if we can bring more people into the area in conjunction with what Killington has accomplished, that's not many more people that are going to be visiting the restaurants and the card stores and the shopping malls that are here. And we're all business people, and that would certainly benefit the economic planning of what Rutland is looking at. We would also like to have a closer relationship with the city of Rutland in helping Rutland to become better recognized as Ski Town, USA. Like PICO and even the Killington area, we have to compete with the mega Western resorts. When we compete with the Western mega resorts, we're at a slight disadvantage. I have skied extensively in the West. One, they have great airports that you can fly into. They make it very convenient. Two, they have tremendous shuttle service. When you go to a lot of the Western resorts, you do not need a car because the shuttle service is so great. Two, I think, like PICO, a lot of people are not aware of Rutland. They hear a lot about Killington, which is understandable. They spend a lot of money investing dollars into promotions and that sort of thing. But I think PICO and Killington, in conjunction with Rutland, can package itself in a way that is attractive to everyone. And we would like the opportunity to sit down with the city of Rutland, with the chamber, and throw out some of our ideas and see if we can't do a better job with that, and incorporate that package with some of the local attractions that we have and some of the beautiful scenery we have, and include tours and that sort of thing, which right now I don't think we're doing very well. I think we can do much better. And so I just want to make sure that the town, the city, and the chamber understands that we are very willing to work with and in conjunction with them to throw out some of our ideas. Here's some of the things that you've been working on and see how we can better work together. PICO is very much in support of the Amtrak service, as you heard John Clifford say from Killington that it is vital, and I think it is. It's almost as vital as the airport system. And if you're going to have a train system that comes into the area, then we need also to have a real good mass transit system through buses that can carry people around through the town to the resorts that they're going to, whether in Rutland or up on the mountain. We also support the improvements that have been ongoing with the Rutland Airport. I see that the airport must work to continue to lift some of the restrictions that it has for airplanes to fly into. One being, I believe it's a 3-mile visibility by 1 mile high or something like that, where if you fly into many other airports, they can come down to a 1/4 mile and that sort of thing. And that's real important. I have to fly back and forth to New Jersey quite often, and many times we've had to try 3 or 4 times to land, only because of the 3-mile restriction, where looking out the window we could actually see the airport, but because there was clouds in front of it when they're approaching, the airplane had to go back up and circle and wait for the cloud cover to go by. And I just think that's something we need to take a look at. Also, in trying to compare us and be competitive with some of the western resorts. We have a very nice area, and we really need to open up the entire area to all the people of the Midwest and the West. And the only way that we can really do that, and also to the southern states like Maryland, Virginia, the South Carolinas. We have a lot of travelers that come up this way, not a lot in the summer, but even more so in the winter. And I think that's an area that we have not even touched on yet. And if we had better means of transportation into our area, we can open that area up for them. As you can tell, I have a lot of energy. I'm very motivated to work with all of you. And I'm here to help Pico grow, and with that to help the community grow. And I invite you to contact me, and I'll assist in any way that I can. And again, I thank you for the opportunity. It's a pleasure.
Thank you, Bill. No pressure on our last two presenters. First of whom is Bob Justice with CVPS.
Thank you very much for having me back again this year to talk about CVPS's Economic Development Program. Last year, I went through in depth some of the elements of our statewide program of job creation. Before I get into the Rutland-specific items I wanted to talk with you about tonight, I thought I'd go over just briefly this time some of the principal elements of the statewide program that we participate in. This is aimed at the creation of manufacturing jobs and other export jobs from Vermont, so that we're bringing in net revenues for the state and our economy. It has three principal elements: marketing, the provision of services and incentives to individual companies, and finally a program of extensive cooperation with local and regional economic development organizations. First, in the area of marketing, I'll just quickly go down through the list, and rather than elaborate on each item, I'll let you raise questions if you have any particular areas that aren't clear. We have a program of attendance at industry trade shows around the country, TV and magazine advertising, direct mail campaigns, customer contacts, principally through billing inserts that you receive in your electric bills, recruiting trips and seminars, and our multimedia talking kiosk named Ethan. The second element of the program is incentives and services to individual companies. The CV Economic Development Incentive Program, or EDIP rate, is intended to encourage companies that are creating new electric load and new jobs in the state to take advantage of discounts on their electric rates. Loan and rebate assistance for acquiring energy efficiency equipment. Help in generating new sales leads for individual companies. Help with navigating the permit process in Vermont, because we have experts on our staff who are accomplished in that. And CV's free plant location assistance service. The third element is cooperation with local and regional development organizations. CV employees serve on the voluntary boards of these organizations around the state. The Development Corporation boards co-host out-of-town prospects with us. Jack Moore and I both volunteer for the hosting so-called A-teams of development corporations for prospects coming from out of state. The development corporations help us distribute the little tent cards that we have distributed through hotels and motels, advertising the economic development program. The development corporations accompany us to trade shows around the country, part of the marketing program, and development corporations assist us in long-term follow-up with our prospects. That's the program that we have organized around the state. It operates in 13 of Vermont's 14 counties, where we have industrial customers who are capable of helping us with expanding the manufacturing workforce in the state. Now, specifically turning to Rutland and our work here with Reddick, we consider Reddick to be a vital component of our program here in the region, and David O'Brien and I have established a very close working relationship over the past just year plus that he and I have been in our jobs. Al Wilkinson, our local district manager here in Rutland, serves on the board of Reddick. I have been attending the meetings of the business recruitment team and also participating in the business visitation process, which I've found to be a very helpful and easy way to get a better sense of what some of our local manufacturers' programs are and problems are and opportunities are. In the prospecting area, we have attended the trade show that Dave O'Brien mentioned earlier in Montreal in September this year. Actually, we say on here that the development corporations attend our trade shows. In this case, we attended the trade show that Reddick and Addison County developed on their own initiative, which I commend them for, which was very productive. We have a program this year, as we did last, of approximately 15 trade shows that we're attending all around the country. David's planning to attend some of those trade shows with us, and I encourage him to go on as many of them as he can justify. Currently in the Rutland region, we have 4 active prospects that CV has generated and that we're working with Reddick on hosting. One of them is a plastic injection molding company that came to us through a trade show we attended last summer, and they have already visited the state and Rutland in specific, the Rutland region. We have another prospect that is a supplier to GE that found us through the little bill insert cards that you're all familiar with. They had also visited the region and are very actively interested. We have 2 more prospects that are from Connecticut that we hope to visit in the next couple of weeks with David as well. Those came to us through, in one case, a billing insert again, and another case in response to an ad that we had placed in Area Development Magazine, one of the so-called trade magazines of the economic development field. I mentioned the EDIF program, the Economic Development Incentive Rate, and we've had 2 companies in the area take advantage of that in the past year. One in a manufacturer in the city that used our economic development incentive rate to create 3 new jobs, and another company in the town of Rutland that used the economic development incentive rate to maintain possibly as many as 40 jobs that they would not have been able to maintain without that incentive. So those are very useful tools for us. Finally, I guess like everyone these days, we also are in the process of getting a home page on the World Wide Web. I'd be delinquent if I didn't mention that. There's one particular area of great concern that isn't reflected on any of these charts, but is a new area of interest for us, and that's infrastructure for economic development and specifically industrial development. We have a pretty good inventory of land in the county and the area, but we do have a problem with industrial building space. There is very little good quality contemporary manufacturing space, and both David and I are concerned about that, and we are trying to figure out a way to develop some speculative shell buildings in the area. I've talked to several private developers and to the Vermont Economic Development Authority about this. We haven't succeeded yet in getting spec building up, but we are working on it, and we will be persistent until we help resolve that problem, which is an ongoing challenge to us. Those are the major points I wanted to make, and I'd be glad to answer any questions if you have any, and welcome you to call us and give us any assistance or advice, and please fill out the little bill inserts next time you get one if you have any possible leads for us to work on with possible industrial prospects. So no questions?
I have one. Bob, you hear a lot of talk about what may be happening with electricity, and that we may, just like phone service, you may be able to buy your electricity from another company maybe even outside the state. Can you bring us up to date on what's happening with that in Vermont?
The governor has asked all of the 22 utilities in the state to bring to him a proposal for restructuring the industry by May 1st. We're currently working on that. We expect by the end of the month to have some draft ideas to put out. The target date at the present time is the 30th of January, and to comply with the governor's request to have a full-blown plan out by the 1st of May. That then will go to Montpelier for discussion over the summer, and presumably there will be legislation implemented next session in the legislature a year from now to take the plans that have been submitted by the utilities and to translate them into a program of restructuring for the industry, which we expect will open up over a period of time the opportunity for more competition at the retail level. In a sense, we already have that now in the industrial sector with our competition for incentive rates for expanding businesses. A client who comes to us, a prospect today, really is shopping around for any number of cost factors, including electricity, and it may well be that ourselves, New York, New Hampshire, Green Mountain Power, and other utilities within Vermont. And so we have a limited degree of competition now, but that's going to be opening up, we expect, much more extensively over the next 2 years. I wouldn't want to predict the exact timing for the full implementation of it, but the wheels are now in motion, the programs are being developed, and everyone will be involved in that process before it's completed.
Do you see that as being favorable in the long term for residential consumers or business consumers?
It certainly will be favorable for business consumers, I would expect, and eventually in the long term it may have an impact on residential consumers as well, but it's really difficult to project at this point what the outlines of that are going to look like eventually, because there's so many stages that the process goes through. Our own individual plans, the legislative review, the administration in Montpelier, and this could take some years to unfold, but eventually it should definitely result in more competition, which should drive the price down in the long run.
Well, thank you, Bob. Any other questions, Billy?
As you travel around to all these trade shows and with David and everything, what are your major stumbling blocks trying to sell the region? Are we having problems with tax base? Are we having problems with employment? What are the stumbling blocks you're hearing from the search?
Yeah, very interesting question. You may have seen reports in the paper recently about the so-called Becker survey. And it was actually quite accurate and I think in line with our experience in the field in saying that the principal barrier we have in talking to people about Vermont is that they don't know about us, they don't consider us because we're too remote and out of the way, out of the mainstream, I guess, of the business recruitment efforts that are going on around the country. We're small, we have a low profile, and somehow we have to let the world know that we're here, and that's the intent of our marketing efforts in conjunction with Green Mountain Power in the States, to simply raise the profile of the state. It isn't that we have a particularly good or bad reputation. We simply are an unknown quantity that people are not aware of. We're often what's considered to be a remote part of the country and simply not recognized as an option. We have to overcome that.
So do you feel that the new investment in rail is a vital piece for Rutland County?
It's certainly a vital piece for the tourist economy, I think, and for traveling. It does not necessarily affect industrial business as extensively as it does tourism. However, there does seem to be some increased interest in rail. We have some prospects in the past year that are interested in rail service. And so while in recent years maybe trucking has been the predominant mode, I think it's possible down the road that we may see some additional interest in rail transport for industrial prospects as well. But certainly it's vital for tourism.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Bob. Michael Sampson from the Rutland County Solid Waste District. You're last, Michael.
I think it's probably fitting that I'm last. You've heard a great deal about development in the area, and now you get to deal with the cleanup from all that development. This is a solid waste district. We're responsible for the management of trash, solid waste in the county. The hardest part of appearing here tonight, and I thank you for inviting me, this is our first opportunity to participate in this forum, and the hardest part of it is trying to figure out what to say in 5 minutes. Those of you that know me know that I can never say anything in 5 minutes. My staff said it would take me to introduce myself. In any event, what I tried to do is summarize 1995 and 1996 in a few words. What we've tried to do in 95 is cut costs to implement savings. We've listed 3 new programs which the voters actually approved bonding for in 1994, in which we implemented in 1995. Those were sludge management for wastewater treatment sludge for all our municipalities, construction waste recycling, and then our new recycling facility opened up at the former Vicon plant this year. Liquid and cake sludge, something that's not real popular, most people don't deal with it, but those of us in municipal life have to deal with it. Most of our population is either served with septic systems, which go through wastewater plants, or are served by municipal wastewater systems, and the sludge has to be managed. It's a responsibility we inherited. We put together a program during the last year to handle both liquid and cake sludge. The cake is primarily the city of Rutland. The liquid is primarily the other wastewater plants. There's about 6 wastewater plants in the county, and you can see from the sheet there's about $100,000 in savings in both. It's fairly substantial savings to the municipalities. That's the first major program we implemented. That is a combination, you've heard a lot of talk about public-private partnerships, that is a combination of the public sector and the private sector. The cake sludge is a private sector program, private hauler. The liquid sludge is a public sector program that we haul it ourselves, and it goes to a municipal wastewater facility in Glens Falls. The second program, construction waste recycling, is again a public-private partnership. We do the processing on the public sector side. The private sector actually turns around and recycles the material for daily landfill cover and for road base in landfills. It's about the only thing we can use it for because it has to go into a landfill. At least this way we're using it for something beneficial and holding down costs. The bottom line was this year, 2,000 tons of construction waste was recycled. That's 7% of the waste stream was recycled. The cost savings was $40,000 for the 2,000 tons. That's a fairly significant savings. The third major program we did this year was to open a new recycling facility. And I guess this is where the community development part comes in. We spent about $3.8 million on this facility. Of that, about $2 million came from local sources. $1.8 million came from the state of Vermont in the form of a grant. That's a major expenditure of money in anybody's book. In our case, it was used to purchase the old Vicon building, not the waste energy equipment, just the building, and then to install about $1 million worth of new equipment into that building to sort, bale, crush, and market recyclables. The net effect was it cut costs by about $20 a ton for the 10,000 tons of recyclables going through there. That's really not the major impact. The major impact was it returned the revenue from the sale of those commodities back to generators, whether they're towns or businesses. It's probably been the largest headache we've had to deal with this year to get the place operational and to make sure it's done right. It's also been the most rewarding. It is a public-private partnership, the only one of its kind that I know in the country. It's jointly managed and operated by a private company and a public entity. That means that in most relationships, the public entity, the government, goes out and builds something and then has a private company operate it. That happened here as well. The difference is that the management structure is combined. Day-to-day decisions, budgeting, staffing, everything is done jointly between the private company and the public entity. The best way I can describe it is it's like a big co-op. Any private hauler can come in and use the facility in the same terms and conditions I do or the operator does. It's a big co-op.
And it works out very well because it holds down everybody's costs. Major change for our recycling, major improvement in terms of cost savings. 1996 goals. Our last major component of the waste stream that we'd like to address is to amend our long-term disposal contract for the district. We anticipate that will reduce disposal rates fairly significantly. We're concluding negotiations at this point on an amendment to our existing contract that will hold down rates. The most important, not only will hold it down, will reduce rates below what we currently have. The most immediate impact of that change will be on municipal transfer stations, but then that will eventually filter down to the generators, meaning the industries and residential users of the system. And that would be a significant reduction. We'd like to expand construction waste to 3,000 tons from the 2,000. Again, help out a little bit. Expand the recycling facility to 20,000 tons. That's a major increase. I would say that within the last 2 weeks, we have expanded from the time we opened to today. In other words, when we first started to today, we have expanded by 50%. And most of that occurred within the last 2 weeks. Those recyclables are coming from outside of our region, from further away than 35 miles. That means other people are paying the processing costs. It also means that we're able to look to future expansion. We believe that it is a doable goal between now and the end of the year to expand that to 20,000 tons, to double our capacity this year. That also means will mean doubling the workforce in that facility. It also means driving down the processing price for recyclables, because as more recyclables are added, the unit charge goes down. Finally, we'd like to increase scrap metal revenue by 100%, and a contract to do that will be going to my board at the next board meeting. Bottom line, if you added up just the cost savings from this year, it's about $400,000. To give you an idea of what those cost savings were, and that's just from new programs in 1995. If you want to know what the impact is, if you take all the commercial sector trash disposal, all the hauling contracts, everything in the county, it's about $4.5 million. That's a 10% impact in costs in 1 year. I'm very pleased with that. I think it's a good move to holding down our waste disposal costs. We believe that when people look at 1996 and look at our disposal contract at the end of 1996, what they're going to see is an interesting phenomenon. They're going to see a disposal rate that's locked in at a price that's less than when I took over as district manager 8 years ago. That was before the passage of federal laws that boosted the cost of trash. It's before the imposition of state taxes for trash management, before district surcharges. Before all that came into play, we'll still have lower disposal costs than we had back in 1988. I'm real pleased to see that. I also believe that that contract will stabilize those rates so that for an 18-year period, starting in 1988, going through 18 years later, we're probably, based on 2% inflation, we're probably going to look at something like an 8% increase total in the costs during that 18-year period. If we can do that, I think we've done the job we need to do to help the taxpayer. So it's sort of a combined report, a little bit of industrial development, if you will, to build and operate a new recycling facility that's twice the size of what we had before, and a lot of savings, hopefully, for the taxpayers in the county. And I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael. Congratulations on your new facility this year. With that, Mr. Chairman, the floor is yours.
Mr. President, I'd like to thank Wendy for putting the whole project together for the Community Development Committee. She kind of took the whole project on herself, and I commend her for it.
Thanks.
So noted. Members like to take a 5-minute break or get right into the agenda. What's your pleasure?
Keep going.
Just one comment. We have policy 1030.
Okay, moving on. The motion is in order. Accept the minutes of January 2nd, 1996 meeting. Any debate? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody outside the rail would like to present the board? Moving on to communications from the mayor. Resolution from the Bennington bypass. Motion's in order. It's pretty straightforward to circulate for signatures.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. Any reports from any standing committees this evening?
Mr. Chairman, I'll defer mine and just remind the committee we have a meeting next Monday at 5:15.
Any other committee chairs?
Mr. Chairman, I called members of the committee, the rec committee, and left messages trying to get a meeting for this Thursday, and I will talk to everyone on the committee after the meeting.
Okay. Any select, John?
Yeah, and the Finance Committee will take up this matter later on this matter.
Okay. Any other select committee reports?
Community Development is going to have a meeting Thursday night at 6 o'clock.
Thursday night?
That might interfere with rec. There's several members that are interchangeable here.
The night should be 7. Can you hear?
You're talking this Thursday, you guys? Yeah.
I'd like to try.
No, we'll cancel ours and do ours next week. Ours is on the...
Well, I want to see if everyone can make ours first.
Versus what time? 5:30. I withdraw mine.
Okay, Paul, so your meeting is on then?
Yes.
Any other committee reports of information? Anything at all?
I'd just make a request that community development, Bill, would you set the meeting, if you're going to have a meeting next week, could you set that now?
What's the pleasure?
Not 6 o'clock. Usually.
Do it on
25th is next Thursday.
Do it on Tuesday night or Thursday night?
Thursday's fine.
Thursday night at 5:30.
Okay.
Cannot do 5:30.
6 o'clock.
I can't do 6.
7.
Maybe we could resolve this after the agenda.
Yeah, let's go on with this meeting.
Right.
Okay, moving on, petitions, letter from Representative Moore.
Mr. Chairman, I guess I'd like to refer this letter to the city attorney for the simple reason that we have addressed this via an ordinance. It's just one vehicle that we need to remove. So I'll refer it to the city attorney to send to Representative Moore on our behalf the issue that we need to address.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any debate? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. VAOT documents.
Receive and place on file.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
How about everything up to page 10, receive and file?
Okay.
What a plan.
That includes Marl 250, McDonald's 350, House Center land use permit.
Second.
Any debate? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. There's no action before us in the Board of Control Commissioners. Moving through to reports and letters from department heads and officials, city treasurer, authorization to borrow, number 11 in your packet.
Move to suspend the rules.
Second.
Motion been made, to suspend the rules, seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion is carried.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the request on page 11 to borrow anticipation of taxes. Any debate? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. City Attorney, Labor Relations Service Agreement. Motion is would be in order to have the mayor sign the agreement. It's something that we do on a regular basis. This agreement, Chris is here somewhere. Yes, he is. To answer any questions on this agreement, it's pretty straightforward. Motion
Second.
in order to suspend the rules made and seconded. Any debate? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Motion in order to sign, have the mayor
So
sign.
moved.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any debate? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Letter from Department of Public Works Commissioner, status of winter maintenance agreement.
Move to refer to Public Works Committee, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any debate? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Request for the mayor's signature for city forest timber sale contract, page 16.
So moved.
And any debate? All in favor say aye.
Have to suspend the rules.
Motion to suspend the rules
Second.
been made and seconded. Any debate? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Motion for the mayor to sign timber sale contract is in order. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Any unfinished business before us? There is another request from Chris that didn't get in the packet. It concerns the multimodal transit center, and Chris, I'd let you explain what that request is from you.
Yeah, this is the process. I think I talked to the Community Development Committee in regards to the multimodal transit center and starting the process of going to court on the condemnation. We have approved plans from the Agency of Transportation, and the petition is to file, start the process on the necessity hearings in Superior Court. We need your approval of, to submit the petition to Superior Court, and that's what, that begins the process.
Motion in order to suspend rules.
Second.
Any debate? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries.
Move to circulate for signature.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded, circulate for signatures. Any questions on the petition?
Mr. President, I'm going to abstain from the vote on this due to conflict.
Okay. Alderman Zentowski.
I'm just concerned that there's at least reference to two exhibits that they are attached to whatever's being circulated, because I think we need to be able to demonstrate that we are intelligent on this matter.
Okay.
Where are the attachments?
Exhibit A?
Exhibit A and Exhibit B.
Those little documents you got over there.
Urban renewal plan.
The urban renewal
And the
plan
survey.
is the official plan that this board approved with the redevelopment authority. And B is the survey that I have here from the Agency of Transportation regarding the project itself.
Maybe you could just send the survey around.
Other question, John, did you have a question too? No. Was there another question while Chris is sending that around of Chris in a motion? We'll wait just a couple minutes then for that to circulate.
So a copy of this one.
I've seen it on I looked at it in the other room quite a while back. There it is.
Motion is on the floor to circulate. Any other questions or debate? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. John, would you like to introduce the chief's request for expenditures that was put in the Finance Committee?
Yeah, the last meeting, I was active, and when I got my minutes, I found out that the request for a new police officer was sent to the Finance Committee. That was last Tuesday or Wednesday when I realized that trying to get a meeting together was almost impossible. People were away or unavailable. After talking with the chief Thursday, the original intent was to talk to the full board. So we decided to talk to the mayor and call David and decided to have the chief make his presentation to the full board. I was told that it was to be an executive session, or at least part of it was to be, and I don't know where you want to go from there, chief, but if it's going to be an executive session, we have to be able to have a good reason for it to be an executive session and make sure it's within the general provisions. So why don't you tell me where we're at this point, either the mayor or somebody.
I believe the first part is to be open, to be televised for about 15 minutes or 20 minutes, and then a motion to be in order. Is that correct?
Hopefully as little of that is necessary. First of all, let me hand out a letter which, in my communication to you in your last full board meeting, I left the issue of financing to be taken up at a later time. This letter deals with that issue. A while back, 3 weeks ago, the police commission, chairman of the police commission, sent me a letter which was then transmitted to you requesting an opportunity to discuss a special appropriation in this year's budget to retain an additional sworn officer for the purposes as stated at that time. I think it's extremely important that the board have the opportunity to learn the reasons for this recommendation. I support the recommendation and will turn the matter over to Chief Holmes and the folks from the police department. Some of the information which you're about to receive is clearly public information, and everything that can be conveyed in an open meeting will be. Some of the information, for reasons that the chief will explain, cannot be conveyed in an open meeting, and so would request an executive session after the public portion is completed. Chief?
Thank you very much, Mayor. Let me first say I appreciate you all staying up and after such a long meeting and giving us this time tonight. For the first, I think it might take us about 10 or 15 minutes to explain to you what I'm asking and to try to justify it based on the kinds of things that I can give to you publicly, and then I will provide to this to the board some intelligence information that has been revealed by the police department, a strategy that we have developed in terms of enforcement that we will also cover in the executive session, because obviously if that strategy were known outside this room, it would jeopardize our investigation. I want to point out something. Oftentimes when a police chief wants more officers, people think the building is somewhat of an empire. I think you will all remember over the past 7 years that I don't think I've ever asked for something I didn't really feel that we need. I've been very conservative, particularly in manpower. To point that out, I did have an overhead, but I'll pass this out instead. We'll just pass it around. When I came here in 1989, in September, the police department and this board had authorized the police department to have 54 employees. But 42 of those employees were sworn officers. This year, we're authorized 37 sworn officers and only 46 employees. Now that's 8 less employees in the police department and 5 less sworn officers than we had 6 years ago. Now I've been a part of that. I'm not suggesting that, woe is me, they've taken these people away, but the police commission and myself have weighed every one of these things. In some cases, asked for that money to be put it in other places and programs. We've been more efficient, but we haven't been building an empire and just increasing people for the sake of increasing people. We convinced this board of our program, and I've been very careful not to ask for anything that was absolutely necessary. And that was the same attitude I had this summer when we first found out on the 30th of July that we had a problem with the Los Alitos in Rutland. It was my first experience with the Los Alitos, and I didn't know a lot about it. We learned in a matter of a week or so that it was an extremely dangerous gang in New England, and had probably 3,000 members, different estimates we were getting at that time, and we were surprised to see them here, and we wondered why they were there. Now, there was a lot of speculation as to why they were here and what they were doing here. And as we learned about them, we finally identified at that time in August that about 11 members of the Los Alitos that were here, actual Los Alitos members, but they were building the following. We also did a lot of public forums to inform the public about what was happening and who we thought they were and that sort of thing. We worked very closely with the Massachusetts State Police Task Force on Violent Crimes. We began to learn more about them. I was not, and at that time when we were doing this, there was an awful lot of publicity about the gangs. I didn't come and ask for additional officers at that time because I was not personally convinced it was necessary. I had to learn more about it. I had to assess the threat if it really was there and wait till it was right. I think that we anticipated it would be this big, but frankly we have gained a lot of information that now convinced me that it's a much bigger threat than I thought that it was going to be, that we need to hit it with everything that we have, and we have to form a task force of at least 2 officers on our department. And we have a strategy for enforcing this laws against the gangs settling here. So I didn't ask for that until I was pretty well convinced, and a lot of that information and that strategy wasn't developed until early December, and we went with that, and that's why I'm asking for this, because I am now convinced that the threat is as much as we thought it was. I mentioned that we had 11 identified Alitos in Rutland, the Rutland area, in August. We now have identified either Solitos that we know are members of the Los Alitos, who have been here or who live here or visit here on a very regular basis, about 55. Now that's quite a growth from 11 to 55 in a matter of 5-6 months. That's part of our concern. We've also learned that they are here for a purpose, that they have established a chapter here, and that it is accepted by the national chapter. And there are other chapters starting up in Vermont. We'll give you some more information about that in the executive session. We know that they are making money here off the sale of marijuana and other narcotics. We know they're transporting those into our city. We know that they've recruited members of our community into their organization. We think in the neighborhood of 15 to 18 of our Rutland and Rutland area in Vermont young people have been recruited in to the Los Alitos. And at least 2 of those that have been recruited to Los Alitos are now facing felony charges, most probably because of their association with the Los Alitos, even though in all the cases has been directly established. We know that they have branched out and have an interest in spreading throughout not only the county but throughout the state. They have established another chapter down south of us. They have been approved by the national chapter, the Los Alitos Nation, a bona fide chapter within that organization, and it's going to present a major problem as far as I'm concerned. The fact that they have brought in as many as 15 to 18 of our own youth is a serious matter. Some have been taken out of the state and now associated with them in Massachusetts. We know they've come here to recruit. We know that they use this as a rehabilitation chapter within the state. As a matter of fact, we know that the leader, the chairman, or the president of the Los Alitos chapter in Holyoke was here in town for almost a month because he received a severe blow to the head and he was recuperating here, from a rifle gang down there. And to stay away from that, he was here. That's real organization. When you have a place to move your wounded soldiers, so to speak, to a rear area where they can recuperate and have some way to finance that. We know that the Los Alitos that are here have a present following, I call them wannabes, in this area, of some 150 to 200 young people. That's a tremendous influence and effect on this community. Now, they say, well, he's just saying that. That's why we want the purpose, and that's the purpose of the executive session. If you think it's necessary, we can show you where that comes from, and why I've said those things. The only thing I would warn you about when we do that, if the information we provide to you were revealed on the outside of this group, somebody's life could be in danger. It would have to be confidential because some of the sources, if it were revealed, could be known. And of course, our strategy for approaching the problem, it would not be conducive to good investigation to announce the strategy ahead of time. What I'm saying to you is I think that this officer, this new officer, will be extremely important that we have two officers now. Detective Lamoria is working full-time with the gang, being supervised by Sergeant Gino. But it's too complex, as you would see when we tell you this, for one man, or even a couple men, or even 5 men. So we want to start a task force, and I will go into that in detail as well in the executive session.
Motion to move. Executive session.
I want to reiterate something here that's very serious, what Bob said. If we go into executive session, and if this information is passed out and it leaks out, the onus is going to be on the board. And I'm not sure that you want to hear pertinent information. You're more than welcome to, but I want to warn you. I think that, you understand what I'm saying? I mean, I'm not trying to hold anything back. I'm just concerned.
Alderman Zatowski.
With due respect to Commissioner Smith, I'm going to speak against the executive session, but we can't speak at all until motion is made and seconded.
I'm not sure if you guys want to go in or not. I'm getting mixed signals here. What I was led to understand that you people want to talk to this board in executive session. Now, do you or do you not want to talk to this board in executive session? I asked the city attorney, assistant city attorney today, how do we go into executive session? And it's supposed to be a clear and apparent, imminent peril to the public safety. Is this a clear and imminent peril to the public safety of this community?
I can answer that. My opinion is yes.
City attorney, or
there would be, there's that, it's number 5 under section 3215 of Title 1 regarding executive session, and also there's a provision number 6 that deals with records and documents in regards to that are exempted from public record, which includes the investigation and detection of crime. So it would fit within those parameters.
Alderman Grosso.
Is there a motion on the floor for executive session?
No one seconded Bill's. The motion had to relate specifically to what John is relating to.
Let me tell you, I don't like to get involved in police issues, whatever, but I believe we're a citizens committee here, and we have our specialists, Chief Holmes, we have some members of the police commission. I don't want to know what they got. It's none of my business. I'm not a police officer. I wouldn't know how to handle the information. I'm a citizens advisory board, whatever, to help them fund this position. And I don't know why we would have to go into executive session. The only thing I'm concerned about is funding the position. These guys know if there's a problem. They deal with the problems. They handle the problem. I'm not interested in going into executive session personally. I'm interested in how we fund this position. That's what I want to learn here, and I don't know how to make a motion because I'm not sure where the finances come to do this. But I think that's our issue, and I don't want to micromanage the police department, fire department, or anything. I'm not a specialist in that.
Alderman Zatowski, then Alderman Davis.
Well, despite the fact that we don't have a motion in front of us, I will agree with Alderman Grusso. I'd go further than that. I think what Commissioner Smith was about to tell us was that we would be listening to some of this information at the peril of the safety of the community and various police officers should any of it leak out. We all know that whether or not anyone leaks information, the room itself is not the most secure place to be discussing that sort of information. I have no reason to disbelieve recommendations of the police commission. None of us on this board that I'm aware of have asked for a report from the police commission on this issue. I, for myself, believe that means that we are satisfied with the job that they're doing, the police department is doing. So, having said all that, based upon the mayor's letter that was just distributed as to various alternatives, it appears that there is a recommendation to fund this position, and that there are adequate funds to begin the position in this year. Based on that, I'd first move to suspend the rules to take up the matter of adding or funding the police officer.
Second.
Any debate? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And next, I'd move to approve the hiring of an additional police officer at this time.
Second.
Motion been made and second. Any debate?
I'll yield to Alderman Davis.
Alderman Davis, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. I just wanted to state from the beginning, before Frank's motion went on the floor, that I don't disagree with him. I think most of us from the beginning have been very supportive of the chief to state that whatever it takes to keep this in wraps, that this board will do so, whether it was an overtime issue or not, that we would do that. I agree with Frank. I'm not sure I want to know what I don't want to know. But I do feel, and I disagree with Alderman Bruce on some degree, I think there's certain things I don't need to know, but that's protective issues. But I do want to state that I, as a board member, and I have called you many times, would like to know at least the status quo of how the group is proceeding, number-wise, whatever. I do think that is our responsibility as elected officials to know at least the basics of what's happening within the city. So that's something I'm requesting. I will support this proposal, but I do have a couple of questions of Treasurer Graves when we get to that, if we can get to that point. But that issue, as far as at least a basic update, I would request that this board, as well as the police commission, are well informed.
I have a question for the chief. In your handout here, those two officers that are paid for out of the grant, when is that anticipated to dry up?
1978.
1998.
Is there a plan?
That's a negative grant.
For funding after that, or is it, how's that going to be handled after?
Well, when that was originally,
so not only we're talking about the one option, now we're talking about additional two later on.
it was over a 3-year grant, beginning in August 24 through through the 100. The time we did that, we hope that the grant list continues to increase. Now, if it increases a couple of percent a year, we're probably in trouble. If it increases at 5% a year, along with other things, it will probably continue on.
So the idea was to basically incorporate these into your budget for some around that and plan on down the road now, pending the availability of funds.
This would have to be addressed, looking at what the budget is.
Well, I wasn't sure if there was another program coming that you knew about that might be able to just piggyback this and keep it going.
Well, with the COPS program, it's possible, but I'm not aware of it.
Thank you.
Alderman Caruso.
May I ask Chief Holmes, Chief, if anyone would like to learn more about this, can they do it at the privacy of the police department at a convenient time for you and the member of the board? Would you be willing to? Sure. Yeah, okay, thank you.
I think that's a question of running. And Chief, where's the money coming from for this? You say you got it, but where's it coming from? That, I think we should be responsible enough to know.
Reading the mayor's letter here, John, basically asking, which is number 3, supports the recommendation, and he's saying he wants to transfer $13,529 out of the contingency account, and it would be put right into 6111, line 10, which would be the police department salary account.
Okay, I didn't see that. I saw the 3 things. Because the last I knew, we were going to try to take it out of DPW. And Ben was screaming.
Now, there's $50,000 of contingency. The only appropriation out of there so far this year was $1,000, so there's $49,000 available in that account.
Alderman Davis, did you have some follow-up?
No, actually, one of my questions was, the question that Paul raised with the 2 officers that were on the grant page, and I was just wondering when it was ending, but that's been answered, so I think we're all set. Yeah.
Any other questions of the motion on the floor to approve the request? Any other debate? Going once?
Just a roll call vote.
Roll call vote has been requested. Board ready for the roll call? Yes, Mary?
Clifford?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Gillum?
Yes.
Caruso?
Yes.
Cassarino?
Yes.
Lisowski?
Yes.
Stafford?
Yes.
Wilton?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
9 yes. Alderman Zatowski.
With that, I'd move to approve the transfer from account 131.35 in the amount of $13,529 to account 6111.
6111, line 10.
Line 10.
Motion been made and seconded. Any debate to the motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Any debate? All in favor say aye. Aye. Meeting's over. Thank you, everybody.